Are you ready to learn some English on today? I hope so because I have some breaking news. Breaking news. Well, hello, all of my students. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Jay, and welcome to another English lesson here on the channel, where I have the opportunity to help you to improve your comprehension, vocabulary, and your English fluency. Well, on today's lesson, I have another English through news lesson, and I am going to teach you some English phrases and vocabulary words. So I hope you're ready for some learning and laughter. Let's dive into today's story. Suspect in custody after shooting at Kentucky University. And today's story is from ABC News. And it is so unfortunate that this has become so common in our country. Shootings at schools. Oh, wow. This is awful. But let's dive into today's story and see what we can learn. Police say a shooter opened fire on a university campus in Kentucky, leaving one person dead and several others injured. Officers from multiple agencies, so multiple meaning more than one, arrived quickly after receiving emergency calls about the shooting. So an emergency call is when people dial 911 here in the United States, and it takes them to the police, and they have a dispatch, and they listen to the problem, and based upon the problem, they send help immediately. Okay? So multiple agencies suggest that possibly there was the city, the county, the state, and maybe even the federal authorities all responding to this incident. According to investigators, okay, so an investigator, as we have learned in a previous lesson, are police officials and detectives that are trying to determine what took place at a particular event. The suspect was taken into custody. Custody. Okay. So custody. When police hold and control a suspect after arrest. When police hold or detain and control a suspect after a arrest. Okay? So I want you to notice in today's story, if you have been following my playlist, which you can find down in the description, you will start to see more words being used in different articles. Okay? That means you're becoming more familiar with English terms. So investigators, custody, officials, authorities, some of these words we have been seeing in the last few articles, and I'm doing that on purpose so you can begin to get comfortable. Okay, let's continue and let's go to the next sentence. The victim who was killed has not been identified. Identified. So, in other words, they have not either learned or released the personal information of who did this awful, awful event. And police say the investigation is still active. Active, okay? So when something is still active, it's still in motion. They're still trying to discover clues and facts surrounding the shooting. Witnesses reported. So when someone reports something, okay, most people are familiar with the term report when used in a school. You write a report about a lion, or you tell the teacher your report about economics is almost complete. So a report is when you gather information and you put it in a structured order for someone else to learn something, okay? But when witnesses report, notice when witnesses reported hearing a loud bang. So people that were close to the event enough to see what happened, they begin to call the authorities and report or tell them what they witnessed. Okay, so report can be used in a number of ways. When you get a ticket, the police officer writes out a report. Remember, information that is gathered to tell someone else a story. But when you report something to someone, you're coming to them and you are verbally or you're writing to them an event or details of an event. So for instance, you might say the employee reported to the manager about the conditions of the workplace. So the employee went to tell the manager about the conditions in the workplace. Okay, let's continue. Witnesses reported hearing a loud bang followed by multiple shots. So it was like bah, 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 bah. Multiple shots, which caused students and staff to flee from the area. Okay, so when someone flees from an area, it means to run away from danger quickly. So you might say the dog jumped the fence and I began to flee in the opposite direction. Okay. When I saw everyone else flee, I began to flee. When I saw everybody else run, I began to run. Okay. All right, let's continue. Emergency teams rushed in to help the wounded. Emergency teams rushed in to help the wounded. Okay, people that were injured. They weren't killed. They were maybe cut, bruised, maybe had a broken bone. People that are wounded or injured. And several people were taken to nearby hospitals. So, of course, a hospital is where people go that are trying to get recovery from an injury or a sickness. A hospital. Now, when it comes to hospitals, emergency rooms, let me know down in the comments section. Would you guys like me to do a lesson, maybe vocabulary words, having to do with objects in a hospital, or maybe phrases that you use at a hospital? Let me know down in the comments section by saying yes, vocabulary lessons, okay? And I can have pictures, I can explain what's going on. Let me know if you would like that in addition to my story-styled teaching. Authorities secured the campus, okay? Now, before I deal with campus, notice secured. To secure the campus, they, as we would say, they locked the campus down. They made it safe. No one could go in and no one could go out. They secured. Sometimes we say the perimeter has been surrounded, okay? So they made sure that the students on campus were safe and no one outside the campus could enter. So a campus, that's a great word right there. A campus. What is a campus? The buildings and grounds of a college or university. The buildings and the grounds. It's like a small community, a college campus, okay? Authorities secured the campus and ordered everyone to stay inside until they confirmed. Say that with me. Confirmed. There was no continuing threat. Okay? So when you confirm something, you're basically getting a approval that something is a certain way. So, in other words, if you wanted to take me to dinner, I would call you to confirm that we were going to dinner on Thursday. So I would say, hey, Bobby, let me know, are we still on for dinner Thursday? And you would say yes, and I would say, cool. I was just calling to confirm, to approve that we are in agreement about something. The university later released a statement offering support and said counseling services would be available for everyone affected. Counseling services. So remember earlier, last week, I believe, I talked about how a local high school had counseling services for the students at a high school here in my town when one of the students took their own life. So remember, counseling, professional emotional support for people dealing with trauma or stress. So you have someone that you can sit down and talk to help you process what you have been through. Okay? All right. Now, before we continue in today's story, I want to give you a quiz question. Use the word flee in a sentence. Now, when I defined flee, I gave you a sentence. Remember, it was about the dog and the dog jumping the fence. I want you to get a little creative and give me a sentence using the word flee down in the comments section. Okay, let's continue. Police say the incident is still under review. Okay, an incident. What is an incident? An incident is a serious event, usually unexpected or harmful. Okay, so an incident can be a car accident, a building catching on fire, someone robbing a store. The incident. Tell me about the incident that happened at the mall, you might say. So tell me about the serious event that took place. They are interviewing every witness. And we remember that a witness is people or a person that saw something happen, a witness. They are interviewing every witness they can and collecting video footage as part of their probe. Okay? Collecting video footage, collecting. So they are gathering, okay? Getting things together. 20 people may have had cell phone footage, and so they're trying to gather or collect the footage to help them solve this crime. Okay? Now, a probe. Okay, probe. Notice this word, a probe. What is a probe? Probe can be used in a few ways, but in the context of this sentence, a probe is an investigation to find out details about an event. Okay, the police are probing the campus for evidence. Okay, they're looking for details. Why are you probing all in my business, you might say? Okay, why are you poking around? Why are you trying to get intimate details about my life? Okay, now probe can also mean to stick someone. Okay, stop probing me. Okay, stop touching me or sticking me with your pencil. You're probing me, poking me, aggravating me, getting on my nerve. Okay, let's look at another quiz question before we complete today's story. What is an incident? Okay, I talked about the police said the incident is still under review. So what is an incident? If you need to go back and listen, go back and listen. I want you to become familiar with the word incident. Community members say they are feeling deep panic, okay, and sadness as they try to understand what happened. Deep panic, okay? Sudden or strong fear that affects a person's thinking or behavior, okay? Usually when people begin to panic, they sweat, they maybe stutter when they speak, their mouth gets dry, they start jittering, they're panicking. Okay? What are some things that make you panic? Mean dogs cause me to panic. Okay? Tornadoes cause me to panic. When I hear about hurricanes, I've been involved in, I think, one hurricane when I was in Virginia. I panicked. I was deeply afraid and stressed, okay? Last couple of sentences. Local leaders are urging, when you urge someone, you're persuading them to do something. So I might say, I urge you to watch today's lesson again without subtitles, okay? I urge you to share today's lesson with someone, okay? So to ask, to plea, to urge someone means to make an urgent request, to urge. Local leaders are urging people to stay calm and allow emergency crews to continue their work as the victims' families and the university community begin to heal. Okay? The victim's family, a victim, a person who is injured, harmed, or killed in a crime or accident. The victim. All right. And when you hear about an event such as this, oh my goodness, your heart goes out to the victims and their families. When you go to a university or college, you are expecting to go to learn something. You're looking forward to having, as we would say, the college experience. No one shows up for this type of violence. This is sad. This is just really sad. And I hope they solve this, but families have deeply been affected by this foolishness. But unfortunately, this is the world that we live in. So this is today's English story. I have taught you about 15 vocabulary words today. And I've even thrown in a few English phrases. So I hope that you have learned something today. Let me know down in the comments, what is one thing that stuck out from today's lesson that you did learn? I've already asked 3 different quiz questions. The fourth one is, just tell me something in addition. What did you learn today from today's English from News lesson? Well, if you've been helped, all I ask is that you share today's lesson with somebody. Again, please let me know, would you like vocabulary word lessons where I show pictures? Also, I did a poll on my YouTube channel, and I can't remember what I asked in the poll, but I was asking, would people be interested, now I remember, in fill in the blank style English lessons, okay, where I teach you different grammar, vocabulary, and English tenses in a fill in the blank style lesson. Just a yes or no question. So check that out. Let me know. Trying to give you more ways to learn here on the channel. Well, with that being said, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And as always, I hope you join me on my next English lesson. I'll see you then.